This is Access to Experts, where we interview business and professional experts and ask the questions you most want the answers to.
Hi, I'm Jodina St. John, and this is Access to Experts. I could not be more excited about our show today. Our special guest is Alex Mandossian, widely acknowledged as the Larry King of teleseminars. He's interviewed thought leaders within the human potential movement, such as Jack Canfield, Ivan Misner, Stephen Covey, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, David Bach, and so many others. His leading from behind principles and productivity strategies have helped him build an online subscriber base to over 250,000 entrepreneurs, starting from scratch in 2001. His electronic marketing tactics have allowed him to turn his annual income in 2001 into a monthly income by 2004 and an hourly income in 2006, 16 times. His crusade is to teach other entrepreneurs how to turn their annual income into their monthly income in 3 years or less, while doubling the amount of free time he has to enjoy with family and friends. Alex, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jodina. I'm grateful to be here.
Okay, Alex, let's get right down to it. What is a leader from behind?
The leader from behind is the supportive yet indispensable leader. Almost invisible, yet is invisible until something goes wrong. This is the engage and enroll leader versus the command and control leader, which we're used to, and there are many, many more leading from behind leaders than there are leading from the front leaders.
So how'd you come up with the concept?
Well, about 25 years ago, I'm in Sacramento, California. It's summertime. It's about 102 degrees. To my left, there's a 440-pound gentleman. To my right, there's an 88-pound woman. And this is a ropes course, and our job is, all of us, about 20 of us, to get over that wall in less than 5 minutes. Now, I took the leading from the front position, which meant I was the first person to go over the wall. But the problem was I could not assist others to come over the wall. The leader from behind was a friend of mine. He got stepped on, he got his nose bloodied, his shoulders were sore, but he was the leader from behind. And when his job was done and finally he was snagged over that wall, everyone said, we did it ourselves.
Tell us, who are the leaders from behind?
A leader from behind is a stay-at-home mom. My wife, for example, is the CEO of our household. Now I have two vice presidents, Brianna and Gabriel. And a stay-at-home mom of any kind, whether she's a single mom or a married mom, is a leader from behind because she only is noticed when she doesn't do her job, and she's dispensable only when she's not doing her job. She is typically almost invisible, and she is not only indispensable in what she does, but she is highly, highly supportive. A coach, a consultant. You know, Tiger Woods has many coaches. Many consultants to some of the Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies have never been acknowledged for what they do, yet they are leaders from behind. Again, they are indispensable but highly supportive, and they're only noticed when something goes wrong. A FedEx driver, a UPS driver, a garbage collector. You know, I was in Manhattan when they had 2 garbage strikes, and I remember how the garbage was piling up, and we were acknowledging how important those leaders from behind were. A ghostwriter for a book, a script writer. I mean, no one really knows who wrote the script to some of the greatest movies on earth. Literary agents. You know, I know many of the top authors, as you mentioned in the introduction, such as Jack Canfield, Stephen Covey, etc. And they have world-renowned books. They have made a huge impact by selling millions of books, yet many people don't even know their literary agent, and if it weren't for the literary agent, they would have never been published and in bookstores. A judge, for example, they are leaders from behind because they are not commanding attention when they're judging. Now, when a judge does command attention, then they are not only noticed, but they're no longer, in my view, considered a leader from behind. Now let's take Horace Engdahl, for example. He is the permanent secretary and judge of awards for the Nobel Prize for Literature. Now, the Nobel Prize, many people know the recipients of the Nobel Prize. For example, Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Prize in 2006 for microfinance, but no one really knows the judges behind the Nobel Prize. Well, Horace has made himself very, very visible because he has attacked American literature. He knows to speak many languages like Swedish, English, German, French, Russian fluently, yet he took attention away from the Nobel Prize winners in literature by attacking American literature, and he's been attacked by many, many thousands of Americans online. Another example is the American Idol. Simon Cowell, Randy Jackson, Paula Abdul. They are not leaders from behind. They are judges, but they are made visible. And as far as being visible, they steal the thunder from many of the participants until there's a final winner. They are not leaders from behind. They are leaders from the front. There's nothing wrong with that, but they are not the engage and enroll leader. They are the command and control leader.
So, Alex, what are a few of the LFB principles?
Well, LFB, of course, is leading from behind, and I have many principles that I've assigned as LFB principles, and I'll share maybe 3 of them with you right now. They all seem like they are oxymorons, yet at the same time they make a lot of sense if you think about them. In fact, leading from behind is an oxymoron if you really think about it. Now here's one, self-serving benevolence. Self-serving benevolence. Now what is self-serving benevolence? Well, when I am a teacher and I'm training and teaching over 250,000 students a week, the benevolent part of that is reach. However, the self-serving part is I'm making money for my family because they're on my subscriber base. When my students know what my self-serving interest is, they don't pigeonhole me and guess. They know, and I'm transparent with them. So self-serving benevolence is one principle. Another principle, the second one, is relaxed intensity. Now you see this in sports. For example, I was a squash athlete and I was actually in my category the national champion in the year 2000 for squash, the game of squash. And in that game, you need to be relaxed yet intense. Tennis, the same way. Pete Sampras, he was relaxed and intense. In fact, how he walked back to the service line after a point would end would make him engaged into the next point, as my good friend Jim Lair has talked about in the rules of total engagement. Also, if you look at Tiger Woods, he is intense, but he's also relaxed. A great swimmer such as Michael Phelps, relaxed intensity. If you're too intense, then you're not relaxed as a swimmer. I was one, I was a triathlete. You sink. So relaxed intensity is what a true leader from behind is. Ruthless compassion. This is one of my favorite. My family is very good at this. Ruthless compassion is a function of not only being ruthless to your own principles, but compassionate to see the other person's point of view. If we had more ruthlessly compassionate leaders, the world would be a better place to live.
Why is leadership from behind important?
Well, it's an old Chinese proverb, when the true leader's job is done, all the people say, we did it ourselves. Now, when you think back to the original story which inspired this leadership from behind concept, remember, I was in Sacramento, we're looking at the wall, and we have a couple dozen people going over the wall. The last guy over the wall had all of the other people at the top of the wall pull him over. So the dynamic shifted. He was the leader from behind for the first 2 dozen people that went over the wall. Then when he was the final person left, the dynamic shifted, and then the group said, we did it ourselves, and pulled him over. It was beautiful. And the reason I love the leadership from behind concept versus leading from the front is because any manager knows, any mother knows, any father or grandfather knows, any cousin knows within any family that's meaningful to them. Any vice president or human relations person knows that their shadow should be more powerful than their presence. And the leader from behind shadow is always more powerful because when their job is done, everyone says we did it ourselves. Now, in thinking about a few shadows who are no longer with us but endure through time, Mahatma Gandhi, what a leader from behind. The legacy of Gandhi. He said, be the change you want to see in the world. That is leading from behind. In fact, that was a call out, that was a reach out to the rest of the world for leaders from behind. Mother Teresa, a leader from behind. She was very, very supportive, yet indispensable to her community. Rosa Parks is one of the best examples. She never wanted to start a movement. She just didn't want to go to the back of the bus. So she was a true leader from behind. Whether it's John F. Kennedy, Jesus, Muhammad, the great spiritual teachers of yesteryear, of the past, you can go back many thousands of years. They were leaders from behind. They engaged and enrolled. They didn't command and control because that doesn't have a legacy. Command and control leadership doesn't have a legacy. Engage and enroll leadership does.
These are interesting concepts. Do you have a book about this?
Well, in fact, I'm writing a book about it. It's called The Leader from Behind, and I dialogue with my students and with my colleagues. And so this book is coming out in February 2011. I'll be blogging about it, and this actually is the first time I've ever mentioned the book, and this is the beginning of that dialogue, which is a leadership from behind quality dialoguing versus monologuing. The leader from the front, the command and control leader, monologues. Usually the subordinate just says, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. The leader from behind, they dialogue, and typically they don't talk as much as I have during this time.
Alex, we really appreciate this great information that you've shared with us today, and I know there's many in our audience who would like to get in touch with you. How can they reach you?
Well, the easiest way is to grab your mouse, fire up a browser, go online and go to askalextoday.com. That dumps into a database because I ask you a question as an entrepreneur or as a parent or as an individual anywhere in the world. What's your single most important question on how to make a bigger difference in the world? Those questions go into a database, and we have a teleseminar once a month on the first Thursday of each month. One of the greatest leaders from behind was Socrates, and 2,500 years ago, he developed the Socratic method of asking questions. I hope your question or any other question that comes from anywhere that we get these questions from will be answered during one of those teleseminars.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jodina. It's been a pleasure.
I'm Jodina St. John, and this has been another segment of Access to Experts with our very special guest, Alex Mandossian.
This has been Access to Experts, where we interview business and professional experts and ask the questions you most want the answers to.